absolutely pathetic.
Never seen a more insipid performance. Sunderland shouldn't be our biggest game of the season.
And he's the only one I thought who wore a Newcastle shirt yesterday who can leave the pitch and feel like, no, I actually gave everything, because he had only shots on target.
This is the lowest sort of quality chances seen all season. Like, it's a free goal that wins that game.
Oh, it's terrible, they're appalling, and we've got to make changes. Nobody says what the changes have to be.
Put things right with a win over Fulham. No. And I think a few fans are saying,
that's not how
I
it
don't
works.
think you realise the depth.
They've missed the scale of the occasion. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Gordon doesn't need to apologise to me. I'm with you. I think it's ridiculous.
I wanted someone to come over, so yeah, I did, because I think better for the Northeast football.
Nice of Nick Volkswagen to represent the whole region. Hello and welcome to Inside the Toon, your bi-weekly deep dive into all things Newcastle United. I'm joined by Head of Sport at the Sun, Shaun, Custis, journalist and Newcastle fan Jack Cunningham, and from the Adam Clery Football Channel, Adam Clery himself. Well, what an exciting show we have, gentlemen, because we are post-derby, of course, a desperate derby, a terrible performance, a terrible result. Jack, what was your reaction to it?
Oh, my reaction to it was all over the goal show. I was slumped over the desk in pure disgrace. I was at one point mouth open in just what I was watching. It was absolutely pathetic from minute one. You know, kind of half time at 0-0. I thought both things were bad, so it was about okay, whatever. But the game was there to be taken by the scruff of the neck by someone. That should have been Newcastle. Instead, they go 1-0 down within a minute of the second half starting. And then the next 15 minutes was just embarrassing. Like, it was like Newcastle couldn't get the ball. Sunderland were launching long balls at the area. They win every 50-50, every tackle. The crowd were up. They won every header. And this is a Tyne derby. This means a lot to the fans. It is, for a lot of people, it's the biggest game of the season. And to deliver a Pardew or McLaren-esque performance when Newcastle are Champions League team and meant to be up their echelons in the Premier League was shocking. Really, really poor.
I think Jack hits on the fact that it's the attitude of the players in that game that seemed to be so disappointing. Shaun, would you go along with that?
Absolutely. Never seen a more insipid performance. Well, I probably have, but not in a long time. Certainly not for some time. Miserable, gutless. We'd heard a lot about the physicality of Sunderland at times, and yet there's a player in Siddiqui in their midfield, little fella, 5'8", like a wasp, buzzing around, causing us all sorts of trouble. That wasn't physicality, and I can't even remember a decent tackle. I gotta be honest, I don't know what it was. We've been talking about this game quite a lot. I understand that. But really, Sunderland shouldn't be our biggest game of the season. This is going to sound a bit arrogant, but we should have gone beyond that. It should be a slight inconvenience. And it wasn't. No. It was very big for them, and it should have been big for us, but it wasn't. And we didn't... I don't know. I think Eddie Howe said he couldn't fault the effort. Well, I could fault the effort. I didn't see it. There was no. The minute, it sounds a bit Roy Keane, isn't it? The minimum you should expect is effort. Get stuck in. Didn't we have something put in the dressing room? Get into them.
Yeah.
We didn't get into them. We didn't get into them at all. Not even close.
There were so many things that Howe said that we do need to get into, but I completely agree with you, Shaun. The fact that he said that they put the effort in, I did not see that at all. Adam and Shaun picked out the lack of intensity, and that's supposed to be such a hallmark of Eddie Howe's sides, but actually it's not just been today, has it? If you look across the season, especially away from home, so many performances where it feels like they've failed to turn up.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Ollie, but I was watching the darts yesterday, so I've actually got no idea I've got no idea what you're actually talking about. I think it was a real gamble by Eddie Howe. I had no real confidence in us winning that game heading into it. Our away record, Sunderland's home record, some of the performances they put in there, the scale of the occasion, how up for it they were going to be. Until half-time, I was saying before we came in, like I actually thought it was horrible to watch. I can understand why anybody sitting there would be like, this is terrible and we've been awful, but I actually thought game plan wise they'd almost got it pretty much bang on in that first 45 minutes. Like, give no space in the first 20 minutes, kill the atmosphere in the stadium, no mistakes, no opportunities, and then grow into it. And as we came off for half time, I was like, well, this is awful. This is incredibly bad for your health if you're trying to watch it. But maybe, just maybe, this is a smart way to have played this game. And then, of course, the goal goes in really early on in the first half. Sunderland have something to hold on to. And then I think where you can really criticise the players and the staff is that we did not adapt from there at all. No. Like, we could not change our game plan. We could not up the levels. Like you said, there was no... That's when the intensity needs to come into it. Okay, the game plan's out the window. We've given away the daft goal we didn't want to give away. Okay, well, let's just outrun them. Let's outwork them. Let's turn this into a contest. Let's start showing the quality we've got on the ball. And there was virtually no change in that second half up until about maybe 60 minutes. But we had a really good run of possession and we were sticking balls into the box, but keeper was largely untested. And for me, like, yeah, the performance was bad. I know the players, we'll talk about the players coming out and apologising in a little bit, but for me, the real concern was the inability to change our approach in that game. I think the whole intensity thing, I think that was deliberate to not make it a bear pitch, you know what I mean? Because Sunderland have nothing to fear, really, from us coming there. They've given better teams than us a really, really horrible evening or afternoon. So to make it more about our technical quality, I think it's probably a smart thing to do, but once that goes out the window, you've got to be able to change gear, and we just failed to do that on a level I've rarely seen us be able to do.
Eddie had sent a bit of a mixed message, I think, ahead of the game. He says, we've got to play with cool heads, but fire in our belly. That's pretty difficult thing to do. So do you want to get stuck into them, or as Adam says, do you want to just take the sting out of it, defend a bit, soak it up? That's difficult. And then to have fire in your belly.
Both. Yeah,
you can't do both. And please, don't apologise. As Adam was saying, we talked about this. It's the biggest cliche. It's the biggest cliche in football. I know Eddie did it, so it wasn't like a social media manager telling him to do it. But it's like players are now conditioned to say, "Oh, I better say sorry to the fans," and hey, we can move on to later in the week. It's meaningless. So many players say it now. It means nothing. Just goes over your head. Talk about what went wrong on the pitch.
And that's what Bruno Guimaraes did.
Yeah,
he did.
Bruno Guimaraes came out, said it was a mess. You know, he feels embarrassed. He said there was no shooting, no crossing, no passing, and he's the only one I thought who wore a Newcastle shirt yesterday who can leave the pitch and feel like, you know, I actually gave everything, because he had only shots on target. He was actually trying to get the ball, he was trying to do things. His teammates just literally offered nothing. I mean, we've probably got about, I thought, a Langer. I mean, look, it was a big call putting him in anyway, and he delivered a very poor performance. Every single thing he did was basically wrong. There was a few times in the first half where there was actually space in behind Sunderland, and he just messed up the pass, or he got something wrong either when he was tracking back or whatever. His touches was bad. You know, it was poor. And then Gordon, who's been in better form and deserved to start as well, I thought, delivered an absolutely nothing performance. Well, and Mukiele got booked very early on for the tackle that's obviously put Dan Burn out for, I think, 4 weeks with a rib injury. So that was there. He was there. He got out, Mukiele, and Gordon tried running up once. He got no change out of him. Then he gave up and try again. What
did you think of the team selection overall? Because as you point out there, I was surprised to see Elanga in there. I've got to be honest.
It's one of these things in hindsight where I think that game was going to be won by whichever team managed to get some sort of nothing goal out of it. Like, I think that, like, whether or not you bothered about XG, I think it's the lowest sort of quality chances seen all season. Like, it's a freak goal that wins that game, and the team that won it were always going to be the one who got something like that. But it's one of those team selections where if we go on and we get some kind of, like, very fortunate, deflected, comes off somebody's arse goal, and then we grind that out for a 1-0, you look at it and you go, that's actually perfect team selection, starting with Elanga when the space was there and then changing him later on. Brilliant. Tonali can clearly only give you 60 minutes, so start with him. Miley's a far cooler head than Joe Linton, you know, so that'll really kill that part of the game down. You can bring him on, which weirdly he didn't. But when you lose a game like that, you've taken a massive gamble with how that performance is going to be perceived. Like, everybody today is using words like, you know, pathetic, insipid, no heart in it. Like, really disappointing. I'm hearing words Pardew, McLaren and Carver getting thrown around, which I haven't heard at any point the last couple of years. And you make a conscious decision to set your team up that way because you think it's going to get you the result. But if it doesn't get you the result, then you've got to deal with the fact that you actually turned up and did not offer the sort of fight that feels like it should be the bare minimum. So I think Sky was saying it was like a real crossroads in both team seasons. Like you win that, then actually it's been a really good opening half. You lose it, and all of a sudden it's doom and gloom. I actually think it's a crossroads in Eddie Howe's time at Newcastle, because we're coming up again against a period where changes need to be made. The current identity's not really landing, if you can identify an identity at all. And he's got to make pretty serious changes. But the problem is that's a really bruising, damaging result to get, because it looks like they didn't try, it looks like they didn't care, it looks like they weren't up for it, it looks like you've turned up at a newly promoted side. Someone obviously miles better than that in real terms, but that's the reality of it's a Champions League side versus team who's in the Championship, and you've gotten bullies and you've gotten turned over and you've offered absolutely nothing, and you've got to carry the can for that as a manager. He can't then stand there and go, oh well, actually the plan was to take the sting out of the game. For nobody cares. Doesn't matter. You've lost now. You've just got to deal with that.
But you liked it up to half time.
Up to half time, I thought.
Didn't like it watching it.
Well, not like
I liked it. It was awful to watch, but it was the first time where I've sort of felt a little bit of confidence about the result.
But in theory, we have a lot of creative players, and we're going in with what you might say is a safe attitude, a slightly negative one, that we're going to try not to let them score, not to let them be in control. We're going to soak it up. We're going to show we're strong. But we've got players who can take the game to the opposition, and we're sort of saying, well, we're not going to do that.
I think it's more about the occasion, because any other team, you look at the disparity in quality, I think that's absolutely correct. You should just outplay them, and you've got a bit of fight about you as well, so you should get stuck into them. We played Sunderland 2 years ago now, FA Cup. Sunderland fans go into that game. They are a Championship side who are blow hot and cold, and we are miles ahead of them over the last couple of years. They go into that stadium and their fear is, God, I hope this isn't like a landmark generational beating. Hope we give a good account of ourselves, but deep down you're worried about how bad this could get. There was nothing that was not in the stadium yesterday.
There wasn't.
Arsenal have turned up there and had the hardest afternoon of the entire season. They should have beat Liverpool away. They did beat Chelsea away. They've got nothing to fear in that game of football. And if you send them out there and go, right, straight in the tackles, get smashed into them, all you're going to do is create an atmosphere for 90 minutes that's incredibly difficult to play in. So I do sort of get the idea of going, let's be the cooler heads here, and eventually the quality will prevail. But, and again, that is not me defending it at all. Like, they've failed spectacularly to change things around once they gave the goal away.
That's the issue,
which you have to have in your back pocket. But I kind of get it. If I'm looking for any sort of like, I don't see what positive. Any sort of cope, as the kids would say yesterday. That's it.
Is this because we're slightly soft on them? Because we won the League Cup? Because we've got a trophy in the bank? Because we feel Eddie's a good manager? Because we think we've got quite a lot of good players? I've been through this team before, and who in that team? You're picking on Elanga, fair enough, I get that, but we did spend £55 million on him, and we need to find a way of sometimes getting the team. Who else do you want out? We give maybe sometimes too much credit to all these players when actually we're not looking at it thinking we could improve on that.
Well, it's interesting because Adam did point out that he now feels that that result even is like a crossroads.
No, but he's not saying who he wants to get rid of.
But he says a crossroads for
who do you want out?
It's not about getting people out. We've got to make changes.
Okay, so who do you think? No,
from the 11.
Yeah, who should you think we should be easing out of that team?
Well,
there you go.
Great question.
It's because we've been very kind to them. We've decided they're all very good players,
and they deserve the praise as well.
Indeed,
they've delivered
they
for
do.
years.
But now everybody's saying, "Oh, it's terrible, they're appalling, and we've got to make changes." Nobody says what the changes have to be, apart from Elanga on the wing, who doesn't always start anyway, and we've got lots of wingers.
I don't think it's necessarily about changes. Like we used to have like this really clear identity.
The identity's not
of being really intense and stuff. And identities are very important in games of football, because if the game starts to change away from what you've worked on during the week, you've got that to fall back on. And if it's a good identity, if it's an impactful identity, then that will see you through quite a lot of games that don't need to be managed massively from the touchline. Eddie Howe's strength is not managing from the touchline usually. But we don't have that luxury this year. They've clearly looked at the last time we were in the Champions League. This point in that season, we had lads on the bench for us who are now in the Baller League. Like, that's how bad the injuries got. We could not compete with all those games. And I think, we're having a much better season in terms of injuries. Players are available. But the cost of that is we're running a lot less. We're winning a lot. I mean, there's a stat on the Opta website, ground duels, just like physical contests. We used to be clear in those metrics every season. We're bottom this year for that. And do you know who's top? Sunderland.
I know.
But
Yeah.
we're actually talking
I know.
about, we're talking about players like Livramento and Hall, who in theory could be England's two fullbacks.
Yeah.
But we're actually missing Trippier. And his leadership.
We're missing Trippier?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're
we
missing his leadership, his experience, his ability to get the team going sometimes. I think he has a bit about him.
I'm going to disagree, Sean. There.
Okay,
I don't
fair
think
enough.
we're-
You're entitled to.
I don't think we're missing
Well, I think we
Trippier
are,
because I'm sorry, Trippier's not the same Trippier that we signed. Like he can't get the halfway line anymore. Yes, he's got the leadership still, fair enough, but there's other players in that team who are leaders. Dan Burn's a leader, Bruno Guimaraes is a leader, Tonali's a leader, Joe Linton's a leader as well. You don't need Trippier. Our best right back is Tino Livramento, and in most of the games, Livramento should start.
Here you are going through the team again. I'll ask you, who do you think should go out of that team, bar Alanga?
Well, I think a new centre back. You know, I think
instead of Dan Burn.
Yeah, so
you
Dan
just told me what a
leader
he is.
He is a leader. We don't need the leader. We don't need the leader on the pitch all the time. Trippier's still been a leader from. Trippier's still been a leader from the dressing room,
right? As
he is. We don't need him on the pitch, Trippier. We don't. You know, he's still a valuable player in some games, and it'd be nice to have him on Wednesday, you know, or whenever, to be able to come off the bench sometimes. But Tino Livramento is Newcastle's right back, and he needs to be England's right. He could be England's right back, but he should be definitely Newcastle's right back because he's so clear of what Trippier offers these days.
I think what I'm saying is Trippier's experience, leadership. I'm not saying he's
I understand
a
that.
better player than Livramento. I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying maybe his influence in the dressing room, as you say, but I feel sometimes you need to be in the team to have that proper influence. It is difficult.
Yeah, there were definitely periods of that game. I mean, it's not about having a starting 11. Like no team is based on the starting 11. I don't think it's about swapping out players and asking who would you change. It's about how they're approaching the games and how they're setting themselves up. I will agree though, there were periods of that game, especially in the second half, especially after we went behind, when Tino Livramento's 10 times the footballer Trippier is at the minute, but I would have rather had somebody like Kieran Trippier on the pitch just going, okay, well this changes now.
In their face.
Don't get me like that's the benefit of having a squad with youth and with experience and but you know, I agree. I wouldn't be having Kieran Trippier start week in, week out.
Neither of you, apart from the suggestion of Dan Burn, have suggested anybody else, maybe a bit of a Alanga, out of that team.
But it's not about players coming out with it. It's about the approach to the game. I would like to see us find some kind of balance between like getting back to that really hard working off the ball, high up the pitch style, but with which is being better at sort of managing the workload on the players. Like I think it's pretty clear what Eddie Howe's wanted to do this season, and thus far not really got it off. Is he wants us to be able to be intense in phases, be intense in small areas, but largely be comfortable with control of matches, be less sort of intent, like reliant on high energy running and sprinting. And that's kind of been the challenge for sort of, pretty much the last time we were in the Champions League. And we've never quite got that right.
I want to ask about the attack, because I thought that actually yesterday that was probably the worst part. I mean, even if you look at Nick Voltemade, great finish.
Great finish.
Annoying.
Great finish.
Yeah. And he's now probably a Sunderland legend, which is also annoying. But he had 12 touches in the game. One in the Sunderland box. One of them went into our own net. Do you look at him for the criticism, or is it the way that the team is set up?
It's tough that because it's tough that because we're a lot of centre forwards. Like go look at how many touches Haaland gets per game. Like it's being a centre forward now is not a high volume sort of like area of the pitch, but the thing about Voltemade, and indeed his USP when signing him, was here is a player who really does get involved in the overall play. Like he drops incredible. You know, we're constantly told about how deep he drops and how great he is with his feet, and we've seen that. Yeah. And I think at the minute, everything he's done well for Newcastle so far has actually been a bit more sort of individual. Some of his finishes have been excellent. His link-up play has been really good. I don't think we've really adapted to him yet. I can't remember how many times these runs were supposed to get in behind him from midfield and from the other forwards. You rarely see them. There's been a handful. I don't think he played well by any stretch of the imagination.
It's probably his worst game for Newcastle.
Probably one of his worst games. But I think looking at the number of touches is sort of a misnomer. Like especially as young as he is as well. Like I think we do forget that. You've got to give him more. You've got to find him more often, and we just didn't really.
Yeah. Jack, how damaging do you think this defeat and this result is for Eddie Howe? Do you think it's the worst of his reign?
It's got to be up there, hasn't it? I think I've seen some suggestions, online and stuff, saying that that people want him to go. Just from this, and also equally the season so far has not been what we all want it to be, I guess. But I think Adam makes a good point. It is about getting that match between the intensity right, and then having some form games where we're in more control of games, because Newcastle can't just press the whole time or anymore. We can't do that. But there's got to be some fine balance between just totally sitting off. I mean, we didn't press once yesterday, I don't think. I can't remember.
We're really passive.
So
Really passive.
What are we
It
now?
was
Are we a pressing team, or are we more a defensive?
Well, exactly. I think
Exactly.
we're trying.
That's the problem.
That's the thing. We're
Cool
trying
heads
to
on
work
fire in
out.
our belly. I mean,
And it's mixed messages, isn't it? And how, the thing is, he's always answered all of the question marks over him. So
Yeah.
you've got to 100% give him time. But I do understand why some people are starting to feel like he's maybe running out of ideas.
Shaun, you said that you sometimes think that we're too soft on these players. Are we too soft on Eddie Howe? In your opinion?
yeah, but he bought his time, because winning a trophy is still my greatest, most enjoyable day as a Newcastle fan. So I do think he won himself time. At a lot of clubs, it would be, where did you finish in the league? And we finished well in the league last season. And going into the next season, at a lot of clubs, you'd say, right, come on, kick on, we've got to qualify for the Champions League. But I think he did buy himself time with that trophy. And hey, we might win another one. It's perfectly possible. We've got the...
I know, that's what's strange, isn't it? We're still...
What will our attitude be if we win another league? I was thinking about this one. What will our
Forget all
attitude
about
be
it, won't
if
you?
we win
Yeah,
another
forget all
League
about
Cup?
it.
It won't be probably as exciting as it was last season. First one's always the best. But 2 League Cups in 2 years? Would we like that? We'd like that.
Sorry, I thought we were in the Champions League.
No, 2 League Cups in 2 years. What would we say? How would we judge Newcastle at the end of this season if we won 2 trophies in 2 years?
Do you know what, Shaun? You're talking about apologies. As part of Anthony Gordon's apology, he says we could put things right with a win over Fulham.
No.
And I think a few fans were saying,
That's not how it
I don't
works.
think,
No,
I don't
you
think
can't.
you realise the depth of how frustrating and how poor that performance
But last
was, and
season
that result.
that would have been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
You
not, is
you
it?
can't put that right till March.
No, you can't.
Like,
Until we play them again.
But
But don't
it's
get
stupid.
obsessed with Sunderland, man. Don't think
it's
about
not.
other games.
Look.
We've been on here.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Sunderland game 6 weeks ago, and I'm saying there's a load of games before we get to that. Don't worry about March. Sort out everything now.
I don't get me wrong. From a personal perspective, yeah. Look,
They're getting in our heads.
I lived and worked in Sunderland. It always didn't really have that much of an emotional impact on me the same way. But like the club and the fan base have quite right that you do attach huge significance to these games. Like you get legend status as a player if you're the.
Yeah.
I mean,
we
he's just
we still
got
sing
it.
about O'Brien, like,
You know what I mean? Like,
O'Brien, Ryan Taylor over the wall.
Kevin
It's-
Phillips
it's a
for Sunderland.
It's a really
never
bad
goes
away performance from one of the worst away teams in the league against one of the best home teams in the league, who are fairly close in the table. And if you take all the emotion out of it, it's disappointing. The performance is concerning, but look at where we are in the table. We've got the game on Wednesday. We're still in Europe, etc., etc. Right? But fan bases, the whole reason we do this is because you attach this significance to things that don't make sense to people who don't like football. And Eddie Howe's going to come in for so much scrutiny and so much additional criticism because this was the derby. Because you have to rise to meet those occasions. You have to rise to meet all that. It's not a case of like, look, how we play against Sunderland shouldn't define our season. Like, we should have so many other irons in the fire. But the reality is, the very top of the shop in football is closed off to all but the tight few teams. That's why last season us winning the League Cup and Palace winning the FA Cup was seen as like, that's the craziest season that's ever happened. By and large, for most clubs and most football fans, this is all you get.
Don't accept that.
This is all
Don't
you
accept
get.
that. You shouldn't be accepting that. You're starting to think about next March, got to get revenge, and that's almost defining your season.
That's not what
no.
we said. That's not what we said. When the players are coming out and apologising, them saying, we'll put this right on Wednesday with a League Cup quarter-final win, I think it speaks to the idea that they've missed the scale of the occasion.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think Gordon doesn't need to apologise to me. I'm with you. I think it's ridiculous PR and sort of media handling. I'm with you on that. He doesn't need to apologise to me. But like, there is the overall mood of the fan base is impacted by results like this, as it will be for Sunderland in the opposite direction. Far more than it is for any other. There's no logic to it. There's no rhyme or reason. And we can sit here and go, well, this should not define it. Sunderland should not be our yardstick and all this. But Tell that to the fan base as a
know,
whole
exactly, yeah.
at about 6 o'clock on Sunday.
I don't understand that. I really do get it. I feel like you do, but to think, March, let's hurry up and let's get to March now.
It's not about that. I think it's just the fact that Gordon's saying, he's going to put it right on Wednesday, where you can't put this specific result right until we actually play them again at home.
I think it's just in the wider context of did they play the occasion? Did they understand the significance and all that? I think that is bad PR because a lot of people read that and go, you can't put that right by beating Fulham at St James's Park. And I think if we're sort of having these wider conversations about how, like, well, did we not play well because we didn't get it? Did we not value the occasion? Did they want it more than us? Which, I do a tactics channel for a living. That's the last thing I really want to talk about. But it's there and it's valid and it plays a part in football. And just Anthony Gordon saying we'll put it right is just sort of like, no. Mate, no, just put the phone down. Yeah. Just put the phone down.
Jack, what would you say to any Newcastle fans who wanted the derby back? Who potentially wanted Sunderland to come back up? Because there were some, and I absolutely wasn't one of them. I was sat in this studio when Sunderland got promoted, did a show. I had Rory Jennings opposite me saying you should be delighted. I said absolutely not. There's no way that you can be happy for your rivals in the first place. But also, we could have been playing Sheffield United away yesterday, which is just a much simpler game. All the emotion taken out of it. We just talked about how much it works us all up. I just want a message to be sent to any of those fans who were desperate for the derby to come back in. Well, I thought it was nonsense at the time.
You picked on me because I wanted Sunderland to come over. So, yeah, I did. Because I think... So, I don't know, maybe I'm taking it as a non-Newcastle fan for this, but I think it's better for the Northeast football. I have a lot of mates who are Sunderland fans as well, and I know how much... Well, we all know how much football means to everyone in the region. And... I thought it was important to have Sunderland back in the Premier League for a strong...
Nice of Nick Volkswagen to represent the whole region as well. Yeah.
No, look, so that was that. Obviously with the derby, I feel like when I saw that it was in December and Sunderland were a newly promoted side and Newcastle were a Champions League team, let's be honest, I kind of thought that Newcastle would almost certainly be above Sunderland and Sunderland would probably be like 16th, 17th when they go and play them. Would rock up, would win easily, would move on with our season. Of course, it didn't transpire like that. And Sunderland deserve a lot of credit for their recruitment. I think their recruitment's been spot on. Some of the signings have been excellent. Roofs, Mukiele, Alverde, it goes on. Siddiqui, it goes on. And they're aggressive, they're combative. They're not pretty to watch at all, but they play effective football. And they deserve to win yesterday. And, we're going to have to suck it up now because it's going to go on for a while, this.
Well,
you like having the derby games, you do. I know we lost it.
I'm saying
that. Won it,
that's the issue.
I'm with Jack. I'm okay with them in the Premier League as well, as long as
we're going to have some pelters.
I mean, look, of course we're going to get pelters, and we probably deserve to get pelters as well, but we've got to accept that Sunderland, as Jack says, have recruited superbly. They were far better than us, in my opinion, yesterday, even though neither side had many shots on target, if any. And they've done really well. And the Stadium of Light is a difficult place to go when it's full and when it's rocking. I've been there for all sorts of games, not just Newcastle game.
Beyonce.
And it's quite,
it's great.
It's quite good. You can't deny the fact. But I still like that rivalry. You can take the mickey out them when they're down in League One and all that. But it is better to have them in the Premier League as long as they're below us.
Yeah, we should probably apologise to any Sunderland fans who've clicked on this looking for some kind of crash out. Like my grapes aren't that sour. Like as a Newcastle fan, I did not want the derby back. I find it it's too stressful. It's like it's the Christmas day of bad patter. You like some of the memes and the stuff that get sent around. It's terrible.
I think I sent memes of the Grinch as Eddie Howe because Eddie Howe's ruined Christmas, stole Christmas.
But it's like, as someone who covers football, I've really enjoyed Sunderland in the league this season. Like, they really have defied a lot of expectations. They've set a template for how newly promoted sides should come up. They're defying all the underlying numbers. Like, they're putting up attacking and defensive numbers that say they should be near the relegation zone. And every single week, you see games like that where they reduce it to really fine margins. They make sure it's not too open, and the strikers finish really, not necessarily reliably, but certainly like clinically. And they've got a goalkeeper that gets you the margins and they're going in the other direction. And it's not dissimilar to Nottingham Forest last season. And everybody spent that entire season going, well, that Forest bubble's going to burst, that Forest bubble's going to burst. And come the last couple of weeks, they were still up that end of the table. I think they deserve a load of credit for what they've done. Like, they've not had any sort of like pride or whatever about coming up and trying to maintain the same brand of football they had in the Championship. They've gone, right, what do we need to succeed here? What players do we need to succeed here? They've had, it's been, I've really enjoyed watching them from a professional point of view, just not yesterday.
Yeah. Just one final one on the derby. I've got to ask it, Jack. What did you think of the picture on the pitch?
Yeah,
the remake.
Look, they had to do it, didn't they? I think we did it. They're like they had to do it. Look, that's part of the banter. I don't know. That's part of the banter. Look, I when I saw it, I was like,
of course.
It was like that Ben Affleck meme, standing outside with a cigarette.
the entire game was sort of that Ben Affleck
meme. So it was me doing that. But look, that's what the derby is. It was fair play. It was fair play, and as I say, and the Newcastle players were over at their end. I don't know how full the away end was by the end, but I can't imagine it was very full. Silently applauding, and then they go off and trudge off, and
you've just got to
look.
You just got to take it.
You've just got to take it.
We're doing an incredible amount of laughing this morning, and it's almost like
it's therapy, mate.
It's therapy,
mate. That's how bad it was.
It's therapy, mate.
Yeah. Overall, this isn't a swearing show, but it was.
Yeah, we're allowed one. We're all allowed one.
We're all allowed one, and I'm going to go for that. Well, let's look ahead to that game that apparently is going to put everything right. Newcastle against Fulham in the Carabao Cup. And, I mean, you've already kind of touched on it, Shaun, and we said it even after the game against Spurs about how high this should be in the priority list. You've already said, and I completely agree with you, that another day out at Wembley, another chance to lift that trophy again is so big.
I'm not quite sure when the final is, but is it before we play Sunderland again? I'm maybe getting ahead of myself.
Be the week off.
You know what? I think they're close together, aren't they?
They must be pretty close together. But I'll hesitate to say this, but I would take another Carabao Cup final win and accept a defeat against Sunderland in the derby. Maybe people are going to say that's heresy, but actually, you know what?
That's a great question.
Oh my God! Would you take winning another cup, but we'll get done at St James's Park as well?
No, not St. No, I'm not. I don't know.
Not St. James's. We're not going that far. We're not going that far.
But honestly, to win that again, I would say, hey, so what? We lost to Sunderland at Stadium of Light.
Really? What would you go for, Jack?
The cup.
It's got to be another cup.
It's got to be the cup. Like,
is the question? Will I accept the thing that has already happened and can't be changed for the thing that might not yet happen? Is that what we're going with?
Yes.
The question should be: would you take losing the next derby if we won the cup? That should be the question.
That's probably the question, shouldn't it?
But I mean, I know this.
Nobody answered that.
We'll move on.
See the dart.
It's so bizarre though, isn't it? Because despite that performance, and it just shows the contrast with Newcastle at home and away. I feel quite confident heading into this game against Fulham, and that's a Fulham side in decent form.
I'm a bit worried. Look, I'm a card-carrying Eddie Howe defender. Every time he gets a lot of criticism, I always like to say, look, he gets that. I don't think he's a great touchline manager. I think he's a brilliant coach, like on the training ground. I think a part of the reason sometimes this season has felt a little bit underwhelming is because he has single-handedly raised the expectation levels. I think what he's worked with comparative to what he's been given, I think we're always punched above our weight. I don't think we're anywhere near the level of competing with the teams we do compete with, and that's down to him. But if they end up going out with the cup against Fulham, right, then this whole idea of maintaining energy levels, of reducing the intensity, of turning up at the Stadium of Light and going, well, let's just be the cooler heads. What's it for?
Yeah.
Because it's about managing the fixture list, and it's about keeping the best players on the pitch, and it's about being able to compete in multiple competitions. And we're incredibly inconsistent in the Premier League. I know the points total of where we are, it's fine. It's still within our grasp to go and do what we want to do, but we're incredibly inconsistent. Loads of really frustrating performances. You then go out the cup. We're going to be almost certainly in that knockout round of the Champions League where anything can happen there. I think for the first time for me, if they can't then beat Fulham, you've got to start asking, well, is this approach right? Mm-hmm. Has this been the right approach? And if it's not, that buck stops with the manager. And either he's got to change course quite drastically and have this incredible second half of the season, or you start having those conversations, don't you?
You're the tactician, man. What would the approach change to?
Oh, well, you want to see the intensity come back, but you need to be able to manage the workload and stop us having the same amount of injuries. The thing about Eddie Howe is So few managers coach multiple brands of football. So many managers have a style that they are really
stick
good
with
at,
one thing, yeah.
and for better or worse, they live or die by how well they can implement that. Right? Eddie Howe came in and he was fantastic at making us this high intensity, in your face, high turnovers, run team, and then we grew into a European club with higher expectations, with bigger fixture lists and all this. And he's accepted, well, that's not going to work. We've got to become a possession team now. We've got to be able to manage games, like sort of way we did for a period of that first half. But is he any good at coaching that? You know what I mean? He's having to effectively learn on the job. He's clearly not a possession coach, and he's having to adapt to that himself while trying to adapt the team. And it's a testament to how far he's dragged the club. Yes, but sometimes you can just give yourself too hard a job. I back him. I absolutely back him to do it. Like, we've been better this year, and I don't think it's, as you say, it's that game shouldn't define the season. But if we lose to Fulham, all of a sudden, well, does that define the season? You lose the derby, you lose a winnable game later on in a cup. We've got Bournemouth at home in the FA Cup as well. This can unravel very quickly. He's got to put the results together.
Does Adam make a good point, Jack, about the importance of this game, and especially if Newcastle crash out?
Yeah, I think if Newcastle crash out, then the questions, and the noise, and the noise around how, especially online and stuff, will increase. This is important. Newcastle, the defending champions here, we want to at least make the semi-final. I think that this is a big opportunity. It's a nice draw on paper. Fulham are doing okay. I mean, they beat Burnley at the weekend, but before that they lost 2 in a road home to Palace and Manchester City. That game against Manchester City was pretty insane. But still, feel like it is there for Newcastle to get themselves into the semi-final and get another step closer to defending that trophy. The 2 legs, what you would hope we could beat anyone and get into that final again. But and it's exactly what Adam's saying. It's just literally like you can see it that the players sometimes don't necessarily know what they're meant to be doing in the sense of, right, am I pressing now? Am I not pressing now? It's a bit confused in games, and if it doesn't work and we do go out, then I'd like to see us maybe actually just abandon this possession stuff and actually just go back to being intense.
Yeah, bring injuries back. If everybody's doing it and we're starting to come out of competitions,
just literally launch players into it, because that's what made us so good and we were brilliant at it. So if this isn't working, then they do question marks over the tactics.
Bring you guys some good news, by the way. If Newcastle get to the final, by the way, the amount of people that will be like, they already think they're in the final. That's going to be quite funny. Right, but if they do, hypothetically, in this dreamland, get to the final, it's the week before the derby. So you can parade the cup and suddenly come to dance. So that'd be good, wouldn't it? But yeah, I just thought I'd bring what feels to me like a bit of good news if Newcastle get there. Newcastle get there.
So it is the week of the derby then, in effect. It's within the same 7-day period. Right.
Cool. But just moving on, because you've said that obviously, if Newcastle do decide to go back to that kind of intense style, you would imagine it would be similar to a couple of seasons ago where that injury list piles up. It brings the question of January, and where we feel that if Newcastle do business, where their priorities should be. Jack, I'll start with you. Where do you think, if they were to go into the market, they should look to invest?
I think there's some defenders. I mean, quite a lot of the defenders are out. We've got 4 fit defenders at the moment with Burns' injury now as well. I mean, Botman, what a class player, but now he's got this back thing that, again, there's details around it are very, very sketchy. It's just a case of, he's going for a scan, he's going to get an injection, so what's that? I don't know what that is about. So I think another centre back would be ideal. The attack probably needs some help. I don't know. A creative midfielder.
The attack needs some help.
A creative midfielder.
6 wingers. We're trying to get Visser
a creative
into the team.
midfielder.
Yeah.
A creative midfielder. That's what I'm on about, because I think that's one profile that Newcastle don't have. Not a pure 10 anyway. We don't have a pure 10. We have players who are comfortable as an 8 and a 6, and they can create things. Like Bruno Guimaraes is extremely good passer of the ball, so Sandro Tonali. I would like to see Jacob Ramsey play some minutes so we can see what he can do. But anyway, I think maybe some form of pure 10, but I don't know necessarily who that player is. We've been linked with Keith Smith from, is it Alkmaar? I saw him a few weeks ago when he was at Palace, and he looked brilliant, to be fair. I mean, but again, he seems like more of a box-to-box midfielder rather than a pure 10, but that's sort of where I'd go.
I don't think the position matters that much. My concern, and the reason I've said, like, I think Eddie Howe has us overperforming and effectively becomes a victim of his own success there. When was the last time we went and bought a player who immediately raises the level of the first team? Like, where the ownership or the recruitment team go, there you go, the team is now better because we've gone and got him. Tonali, I think, is probably...
Because I suppose Chow, no one was expecting to
Chow, he's massively overperformed. He has improved the team, I'll agree with that. But
I get what you mean.
But if he was a lock to be doing that, he wouldn't have cost us 30 million and nobody else be interested in him. Yes. Alanga, the money they spent, I think there was a hope he could do that. But, I mean, as we talked the last time I was on here, there was clearly a long-term sort of view there of we're buying raw ingredients and can we mould them. They've not gone and really up the level of the starting 11 since Sandro Tonali, and I think it almost doesn't matter which position you go and buy in. There needs to be like an acknowledgement of that and go, okay, well, if people are worried that we're standing still or we're going backwards a bit over the last sort of 2 seasons, well, that's because that's what the recruitment. Obviously, we've had to build a squad this year. We had to add better quality. We had to raise the floor, as the saying goes, as opposed to the ceiling. But if we're looking at that now, okay, well, we're not getting the injuries. We are rotating better. That recruitment, so that's done what it was supposed to do. But do we want to kick on? Because you need to go and then go get players who will kick you on. You can't keep expecting the manager to just up the levels of all the players he's working with every single week.
How is Alanga raw ingredients? He was 55 million quid. Man United decided they didn't want him anymore. He went to Nottingham Forest. He was in the team a lot of the time, but not always. And he's ended up in Newcastle. That's 3 top clubs, reasonable clubs. And we've paid a fortune for it. It shouldn't be raw ingredients.
Not raw ingredients.
Straight into the team and dictating things.
Not raw ingredients in the sense of like the way we bought Hall and Livramento. You buy in players you want to develop there. Raw ingredients in the sense of Nottingham Forest were almost the complete opposite type of side to us last year. And he was a very good fit there. So I think they've looked at it and thought, he's not immediately going to fit in with what we do, but there is something we can work with there. We can change the kind of player here. I think that was always sort of the long-term view with Alanga. Not that like they've got to develop him. He should be at close to his ability level, but in terms of making him fit the team, I don't think you could throw him into every single game and he's going to hold that place down. I think there was an acknowledgement of that. And certainly, whatever the intent was when they bought him, that still isn't working. Like, whether you think that's bad coaching or he's not adapted his own game, that's up for interpretation. But the Alanga signing currently isn't working.
If you pay 55 million quid for a Swedish international, former Manchester United winger, he should go straight in the team and he should be one of the best players in the side, in my view.
I agree. He should,
I agree.
You should.
But do you not think that Newcastle do need to invest in January, Shaun? Because you seem to think that they've spent enough money already.
Yes, I do see that, but it's difficult to know who it is. I agree, as Adam makes the point, somebody who will take us up a new level. Have we got the money to find that sort of player? I mean, you've even seen the struggles with Liverpool in bringing in Wirtz, who's starting to get a bit better. That's a colossal amount of money, £110 million to make things happen, and it's still not quite clicked.
Yeah, there's some other fellow who hasn't quite clicked there. I can't remember his name.
It's another guy.
Well,
he's struggling.
Adam told us Voltamato was an upgrade on him when we did our first show.
And
you still think that?
Sorry, only one of them scored at the weekend.
But it is really difficult. How much are we going to have to pay for this upgrade midfielder who we think is maybe better than Tonali or Bruno, for instance? That's what we're saying, isn't it?
Not necessarily a midfielder. Not necessarily a midfielder.
That was just my.
I find one of the things that got me yesterday was, and we talked about this before, you're chasing the game, you're doing nothing, you're not opening Sunderland up, but they are getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Right, get Visser on. You've spent money, he's a centre forward, he puts a ball in the back of the net, brilliant. And as I saw him getting change on the touchline, I was like, for Miley? Is he taking a defender off? And he hooked Voltamato. And what I think what Eddie Howe struggles with from the touchline is adapting the shape. I would have loved, even if it was unbalanced and they don't work on it that much in training, just stick them both. The Sunderland are sitting deeper and deeper and deeper. You don't need to worry so much about controlling the ball now. Just stick them both on. And for the life of me, you've had Jacob Murphy on the pitch 10 minutes at that point, the best crosser of the ball, and you've just taken the only thing you can really aim at out of the 6-yard box. Although that was I would like to see us have other ways to create, and the fact that we don't have, as you say, a 10, I would love to have somebody who could just sit behind a forward, who could sit really in front of that midfield as opposed to being a part of it. And I don't know for the life of us why we don't give ourselves that option.
Yeah.
I've got one solution. We could go and get Sunderland's recruitment team and appoint them as agents and say, right, go and unearth the sort of gems that you've unearthed. I mean, I referenced Siddiqui earlier on, who's now interested in a lot of top clubs, and that performance shows you exactly why. And they went and got Granit Xhaka, who runs the show, runs the dressing room, is a heck of a leader, who Arsenal fans were sort of okay about leaving, although he did finish quite well when he left Arsenal. He's been away, he's won the league.
Won the league,
Come back. And he's just... His impact at that club's been amazing. I'm not saying he's a better player than Bruno or Tonali, but in that team, he's been such a huge influence, and perhaps we can unearth somebody who can do that.
Newcastle's recruitment, though, we've praised it a lot since the takeover. There's not really been many.
We've spent a lot of money to do it.
Yeah, I get it.
The hit rate's been fantastic. We're talking about Elanga now, but if you look at take Liverpool as example, you sort of hope that 50% of your transfers work out and they're good value for money. I would say, other than Elanga, I struggle to think of any player we've bought in who hasn't.
And even with Elanga, I'm willing to give him time because Lewis Hall...
He's been here for a cup of coffee,
exactly,
Elanga, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Lewis Hall, when he first joined, really struggled in his first year. But now look at him. Gordon first half season, he was poor. So you got to give Elanga time. So the recruitment, I don't think the issue is necessarily the recruitment. I think we overpaid for Visser, let's be honest. Like, the only reason
we dropped our asses.
Yeah, the only reason that would have worked was if he'd been fit, immediately hit the ground running, scored a load of goals, and then you're like, right, because he signed him for immediate impact. He turned 29 almost as soon as we signed him. So, we're not going to get a lot out of you on this. It's great he's not going to the AFCON. And I thought yesterday there was one point where Murphy would cross and it got deflected, and you could see the poacher instincts. He was about a foot away from making contact with the ball, and he probably would have scored.
As good as a gaffer.
That was as good as a gaffer.
Remember when he nearly touched the ball?
Exactly. But you could see his instincts of a finisher.
Proper centre
He's a proper finisher. He's the best finisher at the club probably already. So there's that. But I don't think the recruitment is the issue. Sunderland have recruited very well. Steve Nixon's an incredibly good scout for Newcastle. It's just now, I think, as Adam said, it's about now signing a player who, we don't have to argue about it. It's like, he is miles better than who we got in the first team. Right, there you go, straight away.
Very expensive.
Yeah. It probably is, Newcastle do have money, though. Newcastle do have money to spend. Well, I can't work it out, but I remember we had Kieran Maguire on, didn't we? Of course, the show, and he said Newcastle can spend in January. They've got quite a bit of money from the ESAC.
I was going to say, I think we've got something in the region of about £130 million somewhere. I can't.
The way amortisation works.
Obviously, we've spoken about the Fulham game, but there are two huge Premier League games after that. And when you think about the fact that because everyone seems so inconsistent this season, that Newcastle are actually only 4 points off fourth. They've got Chelsea at home, which is a 12:30 kickoff, which they usually do well in that fixture. And then they've got Manchester United away on Boxing Day, the only Premier League game on Boxing Day too. Disgrace. I mean,
is it only 3-0 down till Christmas? Wow.
But if you look beyond that Fulham game, Jack, those are two huge games, a real chance to climb up the Premier League and start looking more positively at it.
Yeah, they're big. They're huge games. As you say, we always do well against Chelsea. We always, don't know why, home seem to always do well against Chelsea. Can't really think of too many times we've lost that game. But that's a really important game. Chelsea are a strange side. They put in a great performance against Arsenal, even with 10 men, and then since then they've been pretty poor. I mean, they won at the weekend against Everton, but Everton had plenty of chances. Probably should have got something from the game, to be honest. So, it would be really annoying, and it almost says that it'll happen. Newcastle turn up, press the life out of them and win. And beat Chelsea. Well, where was that last week? And then Manchester at Old Trafford.
It's true though, isn't it? It does feel as if it's the kind of game that...
And then Manchester at Old Trafford, again, it's a team who seemed like they turned the corner a little bit, and then it seems to have reverted back to what it is now. So you should be going there thinking you can get 3 points. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute
It's been a morning.
The same men don't talk about their feelings enough. So can I just kind of say, I'm glad I've been here this morning with you, rather than just internalising all of this.
Very true.
What have we done in this as well? We've given ourselves the League Cup, all sorts of other things. So yeah, it's been
£90 million transfer income in. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Inside the Toon. Our big thanks to Shaun, Adam and Jack. Remember, you can watch us on the talkSPORT YouTube channel and the talkSPORT Newcastle YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.